Hi friends, welcome back to arpatakarwa.com. Today we are stepping into an era of reason, logic and intellectual awakening. Yes friends, you got it right. That is none other than the Enlightenment age. This video that we are doing is a part of a series wherein we are looking at different ages of English literature and we are looking at the most important writer, most important works that are repeatedly asked in net exam. And in that particular series, last time we looked at the Restoration Age, and finally now we move on to the next age in the timeline, that is the Enlightenment Age. So, when we talk about Enlightenment Age, I would like to like to ask you to imagine a scenario, a time when science, philosophy, and literature flourished, which challenged the old traditions and shaped the modern world. This was the age of rational thoughts where writers and thinkers emphasized knowledge, progress, and human rights. So, in today's video, we are going to break down not just the historical background of the Enlightenment age, but we will also look at how literature evolved with reason and intellect at its core. And towards the end of the video, we are going to look at the major writers and their works that influenced generations. If you want to understand the Enlightenment age in just 10 minutes, then this video is perfect for you. So let's get started. But before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more valuable content. This video is part of a chronological history of English literature series, and you can find the entire series in the playlist section. Okay, friends, so now let's begin and talk about the socio-political background of this transformative period. As you can see on screen, this period lasted from 1700 to 1800. And this period saw a massive shift in the way people thought about society, governance, and human rights. You might be feeling that earlier also, every time there was a period that I discussed, there was a shift in the way people thought. But let me tell you that this was the age of reason. This was the age when people used their reason, logic, rationality to see what is right, what is wrong, what has to be changed in the society, what is working well. Before this period, most societies they followed a divine right monarchy, which means that kings and queens ruled because they were believed to be chosen by God. But Enlightenment thinkers started challenging this belief. They argued that human beings have the ability to reason and should govern themselves based on logic and fairness, not just royal authority कि भगवान ने चुन लिया तो बस ये राजा है इन्होंने जो बोला वही सच है. That's not going to be accepted by people anymore. Another major factor behind the Enlightenment was the scientific revolution, which had already begun in the 16th and 17th century. Thinkers like Galileo, Newton, Copernicus introduced ideas based on experiment, observation, and mathematical reasoning, challenging old beliefs that had been accepted for centuries. For example, you all must be aware of the fact that people used to believe that Earth was flat. It was during this period when a lot of scientists they came together, they started thinking about the shape of the earth, and finally they got to know that earth is round in shape and not flat. For example, you will also this will be interesting for you to know that instead of believing diseases were caused by curses, they studied medicine to find the real cause. That was something that was happening in the field of medicine. That people earlier used to believe that oh भगवान ने हमें कर्स कर दिया, हमारे ancestors ने कर्स कर दिया. जैसे इंडियन माइथोलॉजी में आपने सुना होगा कि किसी ऋषि ने शाप दे दिया जिस वजह से ये बीमारी हो गई है. But during the Enlightenment time, there was this wave where in every profession, people started using their logic, rationality to challenge the old orthodox beliefs. Instead of accepting things because this is how they have always been, people started asking questions, they started testing theories, and they started demanding evidence. And this is very important for you to understand because now in the video, as we progress, we are going to look at the major writers and their major works, and you will see these themes getting dominant there as well. Now, two important ideas that became very popular during this Enlightenment age. The first one was rationalism. This is the idea that everything should be based on reason and logic. कुछ भी ऐसे नहीं कर देना कि हाँ ये सदियों से चला आ रहा है तो मान लिया. Second is empiricism. Now, what is this? This is a belief that experience and observation help us understand the truth. That means आप जब भी कोई experience करते हैं उससे आपको पता चलता है. जैसे न्यूटन का आप सबने देखा होगा कि when the apple fell on him, he started questioning कि मैंने observe किया है कि anything that you're going to throw is going to come back on the earth. That means there's a force that is working, which he later called gravity. So हर इंसान ने एक्सपीरियंस एंड ऑब्जर्वेशन को प्रायोरिटी देना शुरू कर दिया. Now these ideas in together, like if you look at all these big words, rationality, empiricism, evidence, and all these big words, they changed how people wrote, thought, and even made decisions. Writers now focused on facts, logic, clarity instead of just emotions and traditions. Earlier, people followed whatever the church or monarchy said, but in the Enlightenment, people believed that every individual should think and decide for themselves. This changed the way society and literature worked altogether. Writers started focusing on personal freedom, human rights, and fair governance. Before this period, kings and religious leaders had all the power. But during the Enlightenment, people started questioning their decisions. Writers and thinkers asked questions like, why should one king rule everyone? Why can't people choose their own leaders? And you must see how this kind of started what we today know as democracy. कि ऐसा नहीं है कि जो भी लीडर आपने बना दिया हम उसको ओबे करेंगे. We will choose our own leaders based on our own logic. We are going to think before we vote and before we choose the leader. And there were many such questions like why should all beliefs be followed blindly? And these ideas led to major changes not just in literature but in politics and philosophy as well. Now, before moving on and before we look at the literary characteristics of this period, did I mention that I've created a special PDF that summarizes this video and provides you with exam ready notes? If not, then here's a good news. You just have to drop a message on the WhatsApp number that's flashing on your screen or click on the WhatsApp link that's there in the description box and my team is going to send that handy PDF right on your phone. Now we move on to the next section. Okay friends, so now let's talk about the literary characteristics of the Enlightenment age. Friends, Enlightenment writers didn't just tell stories. They wrote essays and treatises to spread new ideas about government, education, and human rights. Their works laid the foundation for modern political and philosophical thought. Because when you look at Marxist thinkers like Karl Marx, you will see that the kind of ideas and philosophies that he shared in Communist Manifesto, which became a Bible for anybody who believes in Marxism, all of this kind of started during the Enlightenment period. That is when people started talking about these ideas in form of essays. They started sharing their opinions publicly. Now, one more thing that you will see that many writers during this period use satire, a style that uses humor as well as exaggeration to criticize the flaws in society, politics, and human behavior. A very good example of satire being practiced today are these stand-up comedians, especially if you look at Kunal Kamra and there's this another one, Bannatwal, Azim Bannatwal. So when you look at stand-ups of these people, you will see that they are mocking the current governance, they are mocking society, they are mocking problems that generally the unemployed people living in below poverty line are facing. And all of them, they use satire as the dominant style. So same satire was used by the writers writing during this period. And I would like to know who is your favorite satirist from this particular period or let's say from the entire English literature. And it will be fun to know how everybody can have their own favorites even when all of them are writing under the same style. If I talk about my favorite satirist of all time is Alexander Pope. I would like to know yours. Put that in the comment section. Now, without digressing too much from the topic, let's come back and let's talk about satire as a form or as a popular literary device used by people writing during the Enlightenment period. Now, you will see that instead of directly attacking rules or traditions, these writers they made fun of them in clever and entertaining ways. This allowed them to question authority and expose corruption without getting into trouble. Because if you directly name a person, you'll probably be put behind the bars. So, if you want to be clever enough to put forward your point but not to be extremely explicit about it, then satire is the tool that helps you. Next important characteristic uh, during this period was novel. So, novel became an important and widely accepted literary form during the Enlightenment. Before this, most stories were written either as plays or poems, but now writer focused on a realistic storytelling style with relatable characters, and novels gave them a medium to do that. So, through these novels, they explored human nature, emotions, struggles of the ordinary period, making literature more accessible and engaging. Because when I look at works from different periods, for example, Victorian period, if I look at the works of Charles Dickens, and when I'm reading Hard Times or David Copperfield, I'm actually able to imagine how life must have been in 18th century or 19th century London. And how am I able to do that? Because novels are extremely descriptive. They tell you each and everything. When you are writing a poetry or a play, you will see that there's a lot of limitations. You have to also follow a rigid style. It has to sound nice to your ears. You cannot be extremely descriptive, otherwise, it's going to lose the charm. So, all of that has to be kept in mind. But on opposite hand, when you look at novel, you can simply write down whatever you want to communicate without being worried about whether it's going to fit in the meter, fit in the rhythm, right? Now, a unique style of novel that became very popular during this period was the epistolary novel. And these novels were written as a series of letters that were exchanged between characters. This format made stories feel more personal and realistic as readers could see events from different point of view. It also allowed authors to explore emotions and the thoughts that they were thinking, making the reader's experience more immersive. Now, friends, another very interesting thing when you look at the Enlightenment writers, you will see that they all looked back at the ancient Greek and Roman literature for inspiration. They followed the principles laid by the Greek and Roman writers like Aristotle, Plato, and the others for clarity, order, balance, and logic, leading to a style called neoclassicism. Neo means new, classicism means the style that was followed by the Greek and Romans. So, neoclassicism means when you are kind of experimenting, you are taking the same style, the classicism or the classic style, the Roman Greek writing style, but you are molding it to fit in the current scenario or make it more appealing for the newer audience. This means their works had well structured plots, clear language, and moral lessons. Because when you read Greek and Roman literature, one thing that is going to come forward again and again is that these people, these writers from the period, they all believe that the main reason why literature should be available to masses is because it makes a person morally more sound. It makes that person filled with qualities, because when you're reading these works, they have to have a moral lesson so that it is imprinted in your mind. Something similar to what Panchtantra did in Indian tradition. So, Panchtantra mein kya hai? There are different stories, very funny stories, including animals, but all of them give very important moral lessons. So, when dadis and nanis they share these Panchtantra stories to the kids, actually the kids are loving the story, but very silently they are also learning and imbibing the moral lessons that the story gave. Okay. Now, some thinkers introduce the idea of social contract during this particular period of Enlightenment age. And what is a social contract? Let's first look at it. So, it basically means two things. people and government have responsibility towards each other, and that a government should protect its people and people should obey fair laws. So basically, give and take relationship, just like what our beloved Spider-Man says, that with great power comes great responsibility. So when people in power, they want people to obey them, they have to also have a lot of responsibilities towards those people. Whereas people, on the other hand, they get protection from the government, but in exchange to that, they decide that they are going to obey the laws laid out by them. Now, these ideas appeared in literature, especially in stories that questioned absolute monarchy and unfair social rules. Many Enlightenment writers, you will see, used their works to discuss justice, power, and human rights. Okay, friends, so now after having a detailed discussion on the literary characteristics of the age, let's move on to the next important segment of this video, where we discuss the major writers of this age. And this is the section from where you will get most number of questions in your UGC NET English exam. But before that, the list that I'm going to show on the screen, as you see, it's basically a screen recording of a website. That's my website. And if you need a list like that, you just have to check out my website, arpitakarwa.com. And there you are going to find an exhaustive list of writers categorized under different ages, different countries, so that you have all the writers at one place. And these are the writers which have been repeatedly asked in a NET exam. And after going through the past 10 years paper, we keep updating this list, deleting the non-important writers and including the important ones. So when we look at the Enlightenment period, as you can see on screen, the first category and the most important category are the prose writers, which includes my favorites and my very beloved Alexander Pope. Then we have Jonathan Swift, Richard Steele, Joseph Edison, and Samuel Johnson. Some of them were very closely associated to journals that got very popular during this period, which was also known as periodicals, and these were basically like magazines which were printed or newspapers, you can say. Periodicals was the exact literary terms that was used, and those were circulated in London and across Europe on particular days. For example, Tatler and Idler, these were the names of some periodicals that were released, and they were released on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. So questions from these topics also keep featuring in the paper. So make sure you just do not stick to the major essays or works written by them, but you also look at the other literary accomplishments and other literary genres that they experimented with. Next up, we have novelist of the age, and as you can see on screen, we have Daniel Defoe, Henry Fielding, Samuel Richardson, Tobias Smollett, Lawrence Stern, and Charlotte Lennox. So these are the major novelists who were very, very popular. And then we have the poets, and the list is way too large because these are not just the poets of the Enlightenment age, but they were also known as the pre-romantic. So when you look at the poetry written during this period, it carries the sense of romanticism. That is the next literary age that we are going to talk in the next video. So romantic age was all about worshipping nature, taking inspiration from nature, being connected to nature, and that movement started a little early. So it wasn't that William Wordsworth just came up one day and wrote lyrical ballads and the poetry there, but there were certain precursors, certain writers who started working on themes of these kinds, and then gradually we had writers like Keats, Shelley, Wordsworth, Coleridge, who took them to a next level. So when we look at the poets of Enlightenment age, we have mostly the pre-romantics. And the list includes Thomas Gray, Oliver Goldsmith, William Cowper, Robert Burns, William Blake, James Thomson, William Collins, George Crabbe, James Macpherson, Thomas Chatterton, Thomas Percy, and John Stagg. So the list is very long, and it's not that you have to read all the works of these writers, but I'm going to definitely share the most important ones in the next section of this video. Okay, friends, so before I end this video, I would also want to talk about the major works that you should not miss out when you're preparing for Enlightenment 8 from UGC NET exam point of view. So the first one we have my favorite Alexander Pope, and his major works that you have to study in detail includes Rape of the Lock, an Essay on Man, and Epistle to Dr. Arbuthnot. And all these three works are covered in detail in my online course. You can check out the details that's available on my website, courses.arpitakarwa.com. Apart from that, we have Jonathan Swift, and his major works included a very controversial work that was Battle of the Book. It's very, very interesting, and that's going to give you a sense of Enlightenment writing, because that book talks about how people use debate and satire to mock at each other. Then we have Gulliver Travels and A Modest Proposal. All three works are very, very important from net point of view. So make sure that if you don't read the entire text, at least you read the detailed summary of all the three texts. Next up, we had Daniel Defoe, and his most prominent work is Robinson Crusoe and Moll Flanders. Robinson Crusoe, again, is such a beautiful story. I just cannot forget the main character and how he showcases that we can live a very beautiful life even on a stranded island. And it's a very, very beautiful work, something that is written ideally for children. But I think anybody who wants to live a quality life, want to actually practice digital minimalism, is something this work can help them inculcate in their life. Next up, if we talk about the main poet, I think apart from all the other ones that I've mentioned in the previous segment, the most important one is William Blake. And his most important works are, the first one is Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Then we have Songs of Innocence and Experience, which has a collection of songs written from both the angles. So we have a song or a poem on lamp showing innocence. And then we have the most beautiful work of William Blake, that's the Tiger Tiger poem. And that is from the section of experience, which talks about violence and fierceness in nature. And lamp depicts the innocent, the Christ-like innocence. And he talks about how nature presents both the things together. And then there was this two important poems which are not a part of Sounds of Innocence and Experience, but are very important for you to read. One was on Milton and the other one was on London. All these works that I've just mentioned, I have covered that in detail in my online course for UGC NET English. And I'm proud to launch India's first animated video course wherein I explain over 500 important plays, novels, poetry that are relevant from UGC NET point of view in a very, very engaging way. For more details, you can check out the description box, or you can alternatively give a call on the number that is flashing on your screen. So with that note, I would like to take your leave. I'm going to meet you very soon with the next video that's going to be on romantic age, a age that is going to fill you with so much happiness, content, something very very different from what we discussed today, because this was all about logic and using your head. Romanticism is all about using your heart and abiding by the beautiful verses of Wordsworth and Coleridge. So we are going to definitely discuss that in the upcoming week. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to see you very, very soon. Keep loving literature and stay tuned to arpitakarwa.com.